Okay, now I should be live. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. A little technical issue, and I am starting this live stream couple of minutes late. Today is of course 22nd of May. Now it's 3 minutes past 9 in the evening Moscow time, and well, I did a little something with the microphone, and through filters on in OBS Studio, and hopefully sound will be better. At least I hope so. And yes, I'm online now. I can see it. And once again, hello everyone. Thank you all for your attention, for participating in this stream. And as always, I will answer to some questions that I received through Boosty and Patreon. I have 2 questions, one from Boosty, one from Patreon community, and then I will actively monitor chat, of course, and I will try my best to give you informative answer whenever I see a question. And we have plenty of news, dear friends, plenty of important news that I will try to go through during this live stream. And yes, once again, thank you all. Thanks to all the members of our community who will join later on, and who will watch this stream in a recording in few hours time or tomorrow. And yes, that's been said, let's go through some news. Let's start this stream. And well, as I said, I received a couple of questions from Boosty and Patreon. Although before those questions, I'll give you this news. I will guess this is a breaking news worldwide, especially in United Kingdom, which is that British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak announced that early parliamentary elections will be held on July 4th. According to him, he received the permission of the King Charles III to dissolve Parliament and hold the election. Well, this is of course important news. Many members of our community from United Kingdom are extremely disappointed in this Prime Minister, in Rishi Sunak, and I guess many of them will be happy to hear this news. And then let's go towards the beginning of today's posting of mine on Telegram. And first post, as always, is about our community, and my greetings to all the members. Today I start work 7 o'clock in the morning according to timing here on the post. And let me give you question that I receive from the members of our community through Boosty. This is a question from Boosty. Carlos Gaspar sent me a question and donated. Thank you very much, Carlos Gaspar. Hopefully you are watching this stream now. I was unable to reply to your question previous Sunday because I did not have a stream on Sunday, but I will react on your question now. So question is, what will happen to the ordinary Ukrainians who want no part of this regime, I guess, in Ukraine, once Russia will establish the new borders outside Western Ukraine? And Carlos Gaspar highlighted that he don't mean anyone who has any affiliations with the Nazis regime, and he's talking about just ordinary citizens of Ukraine. And I will definitely not be mistaken in my answer. Every citizen of Ukraine will freely return to his home, to his homeland, no matter where are they right now, in Western Ukraine as refugees, in the European states as refugees, or in Russia. Once this conflict will end, all citizens of Ukraine that have not committed crime against citizens of Russia and Ukraine will freely will be able to freely go back to their homelands, their homes, and if in case when their houses or homes were destroyed, their property was destroyed, as I mentioned many times before, they will be allocated by government, by state institutions. They will be provided with their housing, with their social support, and when new houses will be built, like it is happening in Mariupol, for example, they will receive new homes, new apartments, and will be able to go back and live in the areas that they used to live before special military operation. This is not even a question here in Russia, by the way. I mean, this is obvious. This is obvious. No one has any other opinion. That's a right approach, and that's how it will happen. And all of them will have opportunity to receive Russian citizenship, as citizens of Ukraine, current citizens of Ukraine, are receiving citizenship of Russia or Russian documents right now in Kharkov region. And I'm not even mentioning new regions of the Russian Federation. Of course, people there are Russian citizens. They already received Russian documents. So rights of the citizens of Ukraine will be protected all the way. And of course, I'm not talking about criminals in Kiev regime and neo-Nazi elements and the banderites. That's a whole different story. But ordinary citizens, their rights will be protected 100%. No, there can be no other way, about this topic. And also, I received a question from Al Peterson, a member of our Patreon community and active member on YouTube, in our bigger community also on YouTube Rumble. Question is, hi Levan, can you please inform us on today's live stream about Mr. Zelensky's status? He is NATO president, so I assume he has no army to command, and he does not speak for Ukraine. I'm right? I agree with you. Me personally, completely agree with you. I have very same understanding of the situation. Zelensky is no longer legit president of the Ukraine after 20 of May. Although when it comes to Moscow's approach, I will take in account statements of President of Russian Federation Vladimir Putin and Zelensky, about Zelensky, and the statement of a press spokesman of the president, Dmitry Peskov, who once again directed journalists towards president's statements, who said that first of all, Ukraine's state institutions should work on this topic and explain to Ukrainian society and to world community is Zelensky has any legitimacy at this point, because just prolongation of the martial law not guarantees that his legitimacy. And for now, this is I will say cautious approach of Moscow. There are no strong statements from Putin at this point, no strong statements from Dmitry Peskov. But well, I guess if Ukraine state institutions will not react on this matter and not explain situation through legal means around Zelensky, in several weeks' time, approach of Moscow may become much more direct. But Moscow is clearly giving time to Constitutional Court of Ukraine, to legislators in Ukraine, to work on this matter and come up with a final conclusion. Is Zelensky legit? Because even Ukrainian media outlets, Ukrainian journalists, Ukrainian politicians are questioning his legitimacy. Big names, by the way, in Ukraine are questioning his legitimacy at this point. So that's my answer. In my personal opinion, Zelensky no longer legit president, but because politics are complex stuff. We already hear statements of Baerbock, for example, some other high-ranking officials in the West, when they basically said that they continue to see Zelensky as a legit leader of the Kyiv regime, and because of it, I guess Moscow will take some time before more direct position will be stated by the Kremlin. Let's see. I mean, because I don't think Moscow wants to, to run ahead of the train, as we say here. Moscow will wait. Moscow will take time, and after 2, 3, 4 weeks, I guess Russian Foreign Ministry will make it clear about what Moscow thinks about Zelensky, and Kremlin also. But at this point, as far as I understand, Moscow still perceives Zelensky as a leader of the Kyiv regime. State media here in Russia still uses word president of Ukraine, this formulation, these sentences. So not so-called, not that kind of stuff, but president of Ukraine. RT, for example, I see several news today about Zelensky, and every single time RT was writing president of Ukraine. Many other media outlets were doing the same. So I guess when state-run media formulates its information this way, then I guess Moscow's approach is also similarly cautious, let's say this way. And it will stay for time being this way, and then we will see. But if you ask me personally, I think he is no longer legit. And he was never legit, in my personal opinion. Since 2014, there was no legitimate government in Ukraine, in my personal opinion. And then I shared, by the way, this video, this short video on my Telegram. Many of you, I guess, already see this video when US Senator Lindsey Graham suggested that the United States should impose sanctions on International Criminal Court, fearing that an arrest warrant similar to the one issued for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu could be issued for US officials also. So maybe these neocons are beginning to fear something or sense something. I don't know, because I'm never going to believe that ICC or the so-called International Criminal Court is really independent institution. It's just it's not the case. It's clearly not the case, and some sort of game has been played basically here. Also, I share this video. This is positions of the Eurasian forces on one of the directions on fire. I guess some heavy bombardment has did take place, and yes, some epic footage is coming from Frontline constantly. Also, by the way, news that a group of 13 US congressmen appealed to the head of the Pentagon, Lloyd Austin, with an appeal to allow Ukraine to strike with US weapons on Russian territory. Congressmen believe that the worsening situation of the armed forces of Ukraine at the front led to such a need. So, well, we all noticed that nowadays very actively is promoted this narrative in the West that US weapon systems or NATO weapon systems in general should be used on Russian territory. And when they say Russian territory, they mean Russian territory before 2014, I guess, because on new regions, against new regions of Russian Federation, those weapons already have been, used many times. And well, one narrative is those weapons to be used deep inside Russian territory, and I'm afraid that's exactly what's going to happen. and Moscow most likely will have no other option but to retaliate with significant force, maybe even with extreme force. That's very dangerous possible way that things will develop. And also another narrative have been promoted by Western politicians, Western media, which is a no-fly zone over the Ukraine, or at least over the western regions of Ukraine. So, and I'm afraid at some point NATO will definitely try, most likely will try, to establish no-fly zone also. So we are clearly heading towards the escalation, and escalation will reach its peak when Ukraine Kyiv regime forces will start totally collapse all along the front line, when Ukraine will start undergoing this final stage of the full-scale disintegration. At that point, confrontation, escalation between NATO member states, between NATO and Russia, most likely will peak. And then once Ukraine will be divided, we will see most likely de-escalation step by step. And during this peak escalation, it is highly likely that we will also witness some skirmishes, direct confrontations between Russian and NATO forces on the ground, maybe on the sea and in the air. It is possible that local scale, let's say, skirmishes will take place. Although at this point, at least, I'm quite sure that these possible local scale skirmishes will not provoke full-scale confrontation between the sides. Let's hope so, because we all understand what full-scale confrontation between Russia and NATO means. It's end of everything. Let's continue, and then I share, of course, a link to my first update and first part of today's main update, and also link to my Patreon page, to second part of the update, which was uploaded on Patreon. Hopefully this new approach to the main updates will help me to generate additional interest among members of our community towards my Patreon page. That will be very helpful, of course, and secondly, this new approach allows me to basically share more information, more news in my updates. So yes, what else? And dear friends, let's go through some questions if there is some, and time to time I will check, of course, Boosty and donation alerts, and if I see questions, I will definitely try my best to answer. And right now I have a message on a Boosty from Jerry Cogan. And thank you very much, Jerry, for your support. Let's get these donations going, folks. This is comment from Jerry Cogan, very active member of our community. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jerry. I appreciate your support. So let's continue with the chat. And sorry, dear friends, if I miss your question. Al Peterson is commenting. Don't forget to like and subscribe and donate. Well, thank you very much, Al. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support. Yes, dear friends, if you are not subscribed, please subscribe. Jerry Cogan is commenting, looking and sounding good. Thank you, Jerry. I was not happy with the sound, especially in today's first main update, and I try at least to deal with the microphone, with the filters in OBS, and hopefully it will work okay now. So questions. Dear friends, if you can, please put capital Q before question, or maybe entire question in capital letters, so that I will easily recognize question. David Faulkner is asking, who is Sunak's supposed replacement? Well, that's a big question, isn't it? Members of our community from UK will, of course, know better what is going on in UK, and they can share with us their opinion. When it comes to Tory, when it comes to Conservatives, there were rumors that Boris Johnson has ambitions to come back as a prime minister, and it seems like he has some support among conservatives in the party, at least. I don't know about public in general, but at least in the party he has some support, and he proved basically to Western ruling class that he can be a useful puppet, because we all remember that it was Boris Johnson who was sent to Kiev to derail peace talks between Moscow and Kiev in Istanbul in March, April 2022. So who knows? Maybe true rulers of the West will promote once again Boris Johnson. He has support of Liz Truss and her supporters also. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe we will see this clown Johnson once again as a prime minister, and anything is possible. So, but definitely members of our community from UK, they know better, and they can give us a better answer. Questions. So I may miss some questions. I don't know. So okay, I did. Oh, question. I see question now. Chief Casey Rebuck has a question. How many artillery systems do you estimate Ukraine has left? Hundreds, thousands. Russia seems to destroy a lot of them. Hundreds. At this point, I guess the Kyiv regime still has several hundred of artillery systems. Maybe thousand. Although big question also is in what conditions those artillery systems are, because there was so many videos are on internet when Kyiv regime forces are trying to use artillery, and gun is blowing up after during the shot, because every gun has its limits, how many times it can be used. Tank guns have limits about 300 to 500 выстрел. Как это выстрел? Let me translate, by the way. Выстрел. Tank shot. It is shot, yes. So, if I remember correctly, tank guns have a limit 300 to 500, and after that, gun is losing capability to strike precisely. Artillery guns, artillery barrels probably are stronger, but also not that much more capable, and therefore at this point Kyiv regime most likely experiencing significant difficulties even with artillery systems that formally they still have left, few hundred of them, maybe up to 1,000 of different type of artillery systems. Those guns on those artillery systems most likely in majority of cases are out of order at this point, and on a number of Telegram channels I see quite often posts from the Frontline for information from Russian militaries that precise capabilities of Kyiv regime to strike precisely has decreased significantly, and that is definitely because of their degradation of the guns, barrels of the artillery systems that Kiev regime is using, because, for example, M777 US-made artillery system is very accurate, and when M777 is misfiring for 20-30 meters, that definitely means that barrel has its best times and has to be replaced, because in good condition, it's one of the most accurate guns that there is in the world at this point. French Caesar artillery systems also very precise, and many others, by the way. I mean, NATO supplies quite significant amount of modern weapon systems, very effective ones. But then once these weapons end up in hands of Kiev regime, those weapons are deteriorating very fast. So yes, they must have hundreds of guns at this point, hundreds of artillery systems, but accuracy of those systems are questionable because of the exhaustion of the barrels. In many cases, in majority of cases, I will say. Nadesh Kumar is asking, I want to know about education system in Russia. Well, this is a big topic. What exactly? I mean, if you will give me some more precise question, I will share what I know on the topic. Of course, I'm not an expert in the educational system, but my kids are studying, so I know I have some information. Schools, by the way, I can tell you that kindergartens are free of charge. Schools are free of charge. Although there is private schools, private kindergartens also. I mean, if you want to, you can send your kids to private kindergarten or school, and universities are the same. There are private universities and there are state universities, and if you are applying for a university, once you are finishing school, you have these main exams, and if you have a very high points after exams, you are eligible to apply for free of charge. You have opportunity to study free of charge. State will pay for your education. If you have good points but not very good, then most likely you will receive some. You will end up on commercial section of the universities. Although most likely you will receive some discount, because many universities have discounts. They want to attract, of course, most youngsters that have most potential, because it's a reputation of the university when their students are reaching high levels and high success, and they are trying to attract as many students as possible, and therefore they are giving good discounts to the students that have good points, maybe not top points to be eligible for free of charge section, but in commercial section you may receive up to 70% discount. So that's I mean, to say it in a few sentences, that's the situation when it comes to education. And education itself is very high quality, by the way. After all, we are former Soviet Union, so education level is really high standards. And if you want to study, you can do it on the top level. And that's why, by the way, there are so many scientists from Russia, from Russian universities in many different areas, and so many successful businessmen, entrepreneurs, how you say it in English. So education level is really high. I mean, it's one of the top, by the way, in this world. And I will say Russian universities, in my personal opinion, are better than this pretty much promoted, very much advertised Western universities that are corrupt as hell, by the way. Yale University, Columbia University, Take, if you pay, if you have enough money, you just, pay, and you will end up on any faculty without anything. And there was so many scandals in the West, isn't it? And just look at the graduates of those universities. For example, I mean, almost all presidents of US are from those extremely promoted universities that don't really give quality education, because when you look these people, when you look how they speak, what they speak, when you analyze, I mean, you clearly realizing that these people don't even have some basic education. Nothing to be said about higher education, of universities. So I believe Russian MGO, by the way, Russian Высшая школа экономики, RANHIX, there are many other universities, by the way. They are, one of the best in the world, I will say. So, question, Rafael Ligon is asking, is Putin afraid of war? Why is he so timed? Well, Rafael, someone has to be adult, isn't it, in the room, to avoid the end of the world. And this weight of responsibility for entire world is now on the shoulders of the Putin. I mean, you may like him personally or not, but he is the adult in the room, because take a look what Western leaders are doing, how they are acting, extremely responsibly, isn't it? And if Putin will act in the same way since the beginning of special military operation, by the way, there would be no civilization of the human civilization for this moment as we know it. We would end up in World War III, in nuclear disaster like 2 years ago. And the only reason that this did not happen is because of this extremely precise and measured policies of the Putin. Because is he afraid? What is he afraid? By the way, he lived his life. He achieved pretty much, I guess, everything that he wanted to achieve in this life. I don't think he's afraid of anything, man. He is a former KGB officer, man. I don't even know if they have fear at all, So it is what it is, man, and we should be glad, really, that Russian leadership is taking this cautious approach, man, and they are not in a hurry to escalate in extreme terms, because it will not end well for anybody in this world, So this responsibility of being adult in the room on Russian leadership, and they are doing their best, So it is what it is. If you take pragmatic approach, that's how it is. If you take more emotional approach, then you may say, you know what, we should act this way and that way, and we should launch missiles here and there. And okay, but what will happen after that? Do you really want to end up in a world 1,000 times worse that you see in post-apocalyptic movies? Are we really want to end up in that situation? I don't think so. I clearly don't want that kind of stuff, man. Don't. We all have families, majority of us, and we need this world to be as peaceful as possible, for better future of our kids and their kids, So that's my answer. So, and I see question. Carlos Gaspar is asking, why don't we hear much about Kherson? Because once Russian forces start this local scale offensive operations in northern parts of Kharkov region to establish this buffer zone, Kiev regime start moving its forces from all around the front line, basically, towards Kharkov region, including Kherson direction, and therefore Ukrainian forces basically stopped conducting these constant suicidal operations, or at least significantly less that kind of operations are taking place now to cross Dnieper River and conduct these suicidal operations towards Krinky or or this destroyed Antonovsky Bridge area, and as a result of significant decrease of activity of Kiev regime forces in this area, few days ago, Russian forces conducted clearing operation once again on the left bank of the Dnieper River, including in Krinky area, and the Russian Defense Ministry even reported that all territory, including areas that Kiev regime forces had this foothold, was liberated once again. So, Russian side established control once again. If Kiev regime will start sending more and more troops on these suicidal operations, I guess Russian forces will allow them to establish foothold again, and will, neutralize those units one by one. Veterans of our community, I guess, remember that when all this story start like half year ago, around Krinky and Kherson direction, I was saying this is trap. By the way, this is gonna be trap for Kiev regime forces once again. And well, if we analyze situation, what happened during this so-called Kherson offensive of the Kiev regime, when they were constantly sending these troops towards the left bank, it was a trap. It was a trap, and by very conservative estimates, if we combine overall number of casualties on part of Kiev regime, they lost at least 2 or 3 brigades in this direction, at least. So Kiev regime forces, the Kiev regime is unable to learn. That's biggest issue that they had from the beginning. They cannot learn. So let's go through some news, dear friends, and then I will question again. Harlan K is asking, do Russians worry they might get Schultz or Zelensky or Yeltsin after Putin? Some people probably have some thoughts about risks that someone like those people may end up in power, but I guess during his presidency, during his leadership, Putin created strong enough institutions to make sure that once he will leave office, state institutions will continue to run smoothly, and will not allow some puppet of the Western ruling class to end up in power. I guess measures will be taken to neutralize this, not necessarily agents of the Western ruling class, because if they are agents, they should be neutralized, obviously, but there are some useful idiots. There are some useful idiots that are under the influence of the Western propaganda, and they may not even realize that they are basically acting in interests of the West without realizing this. And state institutions hopefully are well enough built and will be built more to make sure that this useful idiot type of people will not end up in position of power, including in position of president of the Russian Federation. Anything is possible. We are living in a crazy times, so who knows what will happen in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, man. We cannot know this, but hopefully we will don't have such leaders like Scholz or Zelensky. No, man. Thanks. No, we are okay. So, but some people probably has that kind of worries, because we all remember, many people, by the way, especially all the generations, remember 90s, end of years of the end of Soviet Union, like late 80s and the 90s, when Soviet Union collapsed, and that was of course big deal. And then all the republics of former Union economies collapsed straight away, almost everywhere. Russia was no exception, by the way. And rule of Yeltsin, no one wants that times, man. And no one wants that kind of leader as Yeltsin was. I don't want to say nothing bad about him now. He's long gone, and but no one wants that kind of leader. I can say that for sure. So David Faulkner is asking, Levan, I noticed that Russia is practicing non-strategic nuclear drills and exercises. I wonder why German Minister Baerbock had to meet Zelensky. Is the EU going to use strategic nukes? No, EU. You are absolutely correct, David. There is exercises in southern military district here in Russia, and the forces are trained, exercising in use of non-strategic nuclear weapons, tactical nuclear weapons, basically. And this is, I believe, Russian answer to these constant statements from the West that they might allow Kyiv regime to use long-range NATO weapon systems to strike deep inside Russian territory. Russian territory in the borders of before 2014. That's what they mean whenever they talk about Russian territory, because they did not recognize new Russian regions as a Russian Western ruling elites. And the British ambassador was summoned recently, French ambassador was summoned recently, and some very strong warnings were given by Russia. And among these warnings, maybe there was also a warning that Russia may use tactical nukes if things will escalate badly. And these exercises, they play practical role. So forces are getting used to this type of operation, because you're not gonna have exercises in use of tactical nukes every other day. So it has practical meaning to train forces. And also this is a message. This is a message for the Western ruling class that enough is enough, and there is red lines which you cannot cross. You might cross certain red lines here and there, and we did not escalate then, but this is definitely a red line that we cannot tolerate. Most likely that was a message from Moscow, and I hope Western ruling class will listen, because otherwise things may go down very badly. And theoretically, I said quite a number of times that if Western ruling class will continue this constant escalation, at some point, no matter how cautious, how responsible Russian leadership is, at some point Moscow just may find itself in a situation when there will be no any other option to bring Western ruling class to their senses but to use some extreme force, because seems like that's the only language they understand, language of force. And I'm afraid we are getting closer to this point, and one may only hope that eventually these sane people among think tanks, at least think tanks in the West, and in intelligence community, maybe in armed forces, will influence their crazy politicians to calm things down, because it's a Western ruling classes that constantly escalating, isn't it? And when it comes to possibility that West will or EU will use tactical nukes, EU don't really have any nukes at all. It's France that has, among EU member states, it's only France that has nukes. UK no longer member of the European Union, so that's whole another story. And by the way, French leadership also sent kind of message today. They tested their new generation of the missile, nuclear capable missile. I read on some of the articles today, on some of the new media outlets today, that there was some test firing of the new nuclear capable missile from France. Theoretically, it is possible that leadership of France, Macron, will consider to escalate with Moscow, and he's clearly demonstrating nuclear capabilities of the France, because because, for example, testing of this nuclear capable missile. But I mean, let's hope things will not go down towards this road, because it's just too dangerous. It's just too dangerous. World may be, world may end up in nuclear winter in very short time if anything goes down this bad, and if nukes are fired. So, but I guess this crazy leadership of France possibly considering even using of the nukes. I don't know. So also Matthew has a question: how will Russia react to the inevitable deep strike on its territory by American missiles? Yes, Matthew, I was just talking about this possibility. I also think that this narrative in the Western media by Western ruling class have been pushed not for nothing. They are clearly preparing ground to conduct basically these strikes deep inside Russian territory, and I don't know, maybe theoretically, by the way, it is possible that Russia may strike with tactical nukes on there is several crucial logistical hubs in Europe right now, not just in Ukraine but in Europe. And I mean, if things go down this bad, I would not be surprised at all if Russia will strike those hubs that are used by NATO to transfer majority of its weapon systems to Kiev regime. I'm not gonna say exactly which countries, which areas. Let's hope this will never happen, but there is several hubs in Europe that are actively used, and they might become a target for Russian tactical nuke, and that will be a warning. I mean, clear as I don't know, that Western ruling class should stand down before it's not too late. Although, by the way, of course, there is also non-nuclear response, as it was reported by Russian media when British ambassador was summoned. Russian side may strike UK's assets, for example, or French assets, or US assets for that matter, in Ukraine or elsewhere. And on the global map, we clearly have many areas where assets of these countries can be targeted by Russia as a retaliatory measure. But yet again, I mean, let's hope things will not go down this way, because in any ways it's gonna be extremely dangerous. So it all depends on next steps of the Western ruling class, because as I said, it's Western ruling class that constantly escalates. I mean, they just have no reverse gear. I mean, they just don't, Let's go through some news, by the way, and well, this is the one of the news that I spoke about in first update, also in first part of the second or second part. Zelensky wants NATO to get involved in shooting down Russian missiles. Yet again, topic of the no-fly zone, which eventually will probably, West will probably try to create some sort of no-fly zone at some point, at least over the western Ukraine. And by the way, this is, I don't know if you saw on my Telegram channel this video. This is jellyfish. Some invasion of the jellyfish is happening in Anapa, in Russia's Anapa city seaside. I mean, thousands and thousands, if not millions, of these jellyfish are there. Quite surreal picture, isn't it? Sometimes I share these non-political videos just to, for a change. Then information that Europe is ready to play hardball with Georgia. By the way, Georgia is under pressure from all around these days. By the way, from EU member states, from US, from collective West in general. And the information is that European Union will deprive Georgia of its candidate status for joining the Union if the country's authorities do not abandon the law on foreign agents. Foreign Policy magazine reported. Foreign Policy is an influential magazine in the West, and if they are reporting about it, most likely that's the ideas that are circulating among leaders of the EU as a response on Georgia's government's refusal to obey orders, basically, from the West. As I said many times, by the way, Georgian government have to be extremely careful, and Georgia's secret services, security forces have to be very cautious because, Western ruling class is a force to be reckoned with, and they have already destroyed so many countries, isn't it? And now Georgia is their target. Let's hope Georgia will manage to withstand this pressure. And by the way, this is a video of the strike with FAB 1500, I believe, and this is Seversk. This is Seversk city. Just look at this, by the way. FAB 1500 on the point of concentration of the manpower and military equipment of the Kiev regime. Wow. As some channels are reporting, including in Ukraine, after these explosions from FAB bombs, even if you are standing somewhere in 100 meters or even further than that, you are receiving concussion. You may not get hurt or directly, but because of the immense change in the pressure, many people are receiving concussions as a result of these explosions of these very powerful bombs, FAB 500 or FAB 1500. And as I reported a number of weeks ago, Russian Air Force is getting ready to start using FAB 3000, which is like twice more powerful than this one. So, yes, best decision Kiev regime forces can make is to contact Russian side through radio. There are several channels of the communication on radio. Kiev regime forces, if they want to survive, should contact Russian side and negotiate surrender. Why they risking their lives for Kiev regime or geopolitical agenda of the Western ruling class? I don't know, man. I just don't know. Yes, they are under pressure. They've been threatened that their family members will be targeted if they will surrender or retreat from the positions. And there are so many stories about this. But why should they die without even trying to survive and save their families? And also, by the way, today Russian Defense Ministry confirmed the information that Klishchiivka is under Russian control. I report about Klishchiivka today, yesterday, and now it's official. Klishchiivka is under Russian control, and I expect tomorrow or day after Russian Defense Ministry to report that Andreevka is also under Russian control, which is on the southern side of Klishchiivka. Then this information from a British Defense Minister or Defense Secretary Grant Sharps accused China of on Wednesday of providing or preparing to provide Russia with little aid for use against Ukraine. Who the hell is Sharps, man, to say anything about any country that is cooperating with Russia in whatever ways? Entire NATO, with very few exceptions like Slovakia and Hungary, are sending its military personnel, its disguised as mercenaries, weapons and munition to Kiev regime to continue this proxy war against Russia. And they are criticizing countries that are cooperating with Russia. What the hell is going on, man? I just don't get it. What is wrong with them? Why they think that anybody cares what they have to say about China or India or any other country that continues to have a good, great relationship with Russia? We just don't care, man. I mean, what is wrong with Grant Sharps and the rest of them? I mean, they can make these kind of statements all day long, every day, but I mean, who cares, really? And the statements itself that, you know, they are blaming China. What you are blaming? Who are you to blame anybody? For God's sake, man, just who are you? Dirty nobody, man. That's what you are. And the China sanctions US companies over the Taiwan arms supply. I reported about it in today's update. Also, by the way, NATO needs up to 2 years to fully arm Ukraine, according to Bloomberg. So some geniuses among the leadership of the collective West are still thinking to arm Kiev regime forces as much as they can, and probably to conduct yet another so-called counteroffensive. But let's go through some questions now. Questions, dear friends. Sorry if I miss your question. Let me check Boosty and donation alerts. Let me check here so that I don't miss nothing. So no questions here. So let's continue with the live stream and the Harding Hamid is commenting, the strangest thing is how the Iranian president finds its end by accident. Yes, I mean, very tragic, stranger, I will agree with you, stranger accident. But yet again, I'm not gonna speculate because Iranian media is reporting that it was accident, it was some malfunctioning in a helicopter, and also extremely bad weather that didn't allow pilots to basically navigate safely. So yes, I mean, unfortunately things happened. We all remember what happened to presidential plane of the Poland, isn't it, when almost entire leadership of Poland was killed during the plane crash. So I mean, unfortunately this kind of stuff happens, and yes, questions are raised, and most likely many people will never believe that it was accident, but without having some evidences, some factual evidences to say that it was not accident, I'm not going to claim that it was you know, some sort of operation of the CIA or Mossad or some other secret services. What we know for now is that it was a tragic accident. Coach Flanagan is asking, do you think the Iran crash was an accident or sabotage? I just answered to this question. I think anything is possible, but I just don't have enough information to say that it was sabotage. It is possible, of course it's possible, but I just don't have information that it was a sabotage. No, you know, is it possible that there was some outside influence on this situation, yes. But do we have anything to to take her as a indicator, strong indicator that that's exactly was the case? No. And therefore I'm just not gonna go into these speculations, and therefore I will say it was a tragic accident. If tomorrow we will receive some new information, of course I will adjust my take on the situation. But I mean, situation is so deteriorated in the world that it is becoming difficult to believe that this was accident. Many people will more easily believe that it was a sabotage than an accident, because there is no trust. People lost trust, especially there are several countries, several secret services or groups in this world that have such a bad reputation, like leadership of Israel or secret services of Israel or leadership of US political class or US secret services. CIA, by the way, is one of the most dirtiest organizations in this world. I mean, probably everybody will agree on that I mean, CIA committed hundreds and hundreds of crimes since of the creation of this criminal terrorist organization. Really, that's what that is. Really, they conducted numerous regime changes worldwide, and because of their actions, millions of people have been killed. So I mean, when you have that kind of organizations, MI6 know any better. And when you have that kind of organizations, of course, when something happens in the countries that are opposing to the collective West or Western ruling class, many people automatically think that this could not be accident. I mean, most likely it was Mossad, CIA, or MI6 or that kind of stuff. And I can understand why people feel that way. But and I also have questions, but without factual evidences, without more information, I cannot claim that most likely it was a sabotage. Based on information that we have now, based on information that we are receiving from Iran, from Iranian media, most likely it was an accident. And I guess investigation will, final conclusion of the investigation will be accident. Booty is asking, what is the talk about shifting Finnish borders? Well, no, it's not Finnish borders, by the way. You mean decision of the Russian side to examine current borders on the Baltics? It's basically Russian side is not changing any borders of any other countries. It's Russian borders that will be basically described on the maps more accurately, because when last time these maps were created, because of the there was different times and those maps are not necessarily accurate, and now we have new technologies, satellites and so on, and Russian side is thinks that current border is not accurate and it should be adjust, although it will not touch on the borders of any other countries. It's just Russian borders within Russian economical zone in the Baltics. That's my understanding of the situation. It's not about changing borders of other countries or claiming that those other countries should give up some areas. No, it's just Russia adjusting its own borders on the sea. By the way, it's on the sea, and once we all know that there is a border, and after border there is a economical zone also on number of miles. So it's all within this economical zone of Russian influence, as far as I understand. Jerry Kogan is commenting, Volga. Yes, that's it. That's a radio wave that Kiev regime forces can use to contact Russian forces and arrange safe surrender. Many are using these radio waves to surrender, and that's what they should do, by the way. That's what they should do. Questions. I see a question. Nadesh Kumar is asking, why don't China put sanctions on rare earth elements exported to USA? Because that would be extreme level of escalation, and why would China escalate this big with the US? I mean, point is that I guess it's a West approach of the Western ruling class when they see everybody as enemies. We don't see this world, we don't view this world this way, that, I mean, friends and the enemies. No, our understanding is very different. I don't see any Western country as my enemy. I clearly don't see any societies in the Western states as my enemies. I see ruling class of the West, destructive force, and these so-called elites. And when it comes to politics, I guess politicians have very same approach. I mean, currently, that's elites that West has, and we have to deal with these elites, but things may change tomorrow, day after, in 20, 30 years time, and let's hope there will be more adequate people in charge, and relationships will improve, and everything will be okay. I mean, we will do business as normal, and therefore we will not consider nobody as an enemy until provoked, or until we are given reasoning for that. And that, I guess, that's the Chinese approach also. They clearly don't want to escalate with anybody, you know. They don't want. They have enough issues now on their own in the Pacific region, because US is meddling all around, by the way. I mean, I recommend the channel of Brian Berletic, New Atlas. He talks quite often about situation in that region, and about US meddling or Western meddling in the politics of the countries in that region, in Philippines, for example, in other countries. And it is the issue for a region, for stability in the region. And also, by the way, China has some difficulties with India, with Vietnam. So I don't think they are looking for some additional problems. I really don't, you know. So that's why China will retaliate time to time and let Washington know that, Beijing can also strike back. But I don't think China is seeking some extreme levels of escalation with the US, because banning exports of the rare earth metals will basically shut down IT production, in this high-tech production in US. And not just in US, but by the way, China can shut down high-tech production, including production of the chips in Taiwan, by banning export of the rare earth metals. And they have monopoly, by the way, like 80 or 90% on that. But I don't think they're gonna do this, because why should they? Really? Yes, today US has this administration that hardly can anybody talk with. But who knows? Tomorrow maybe they will have some more adequate people in the charge, and all the major capitals will manage to communicate in better ways. Beijing and Washington may not become best friends or strategic partners. They will be competitors always, because of these immense economies that both countries have. It's understandable, but as long as they compete in adequate ways, it's okay. It's even good for the world and for business, because competition is always good. as long as it's done in adequate ways. So, I don't think China needs any extreme levels of escalation. Why? Jack Lers has a question. Why do you think that elites do not express the will of their respective peoples? Well, you know why? We all see what happened during this pandemic, isn't it? We all see how elites acted, and we all see what was the position of, I would not say majority, because I don't have statistics on my hands, but significant part of societies were against these harsh measures worldwide, including in the West, by the way. Only exception in the Western world is Sweden, and well, I have to say, by the way, Swedish leadership at the time probably acted best way possible. They did not shut down economy. They did not destroy the small and medium businesses. They did not destroy social fabric. They did not do any of it that we see in United Kingdom, in US, by the way, in many other countries. Isn't it? So, I mean, is it a good enough indicator that ruling class don't really cares about its own citizens? For example, let's say right now, as far as I understand, vast majority of the societies, according to studies, by the way, that I see on some independent channels that I follow, majority of the society in US is against providing weapons to Israel. Does the government listens? No. Vast majority, maybe not vast majority, but majority in United States are questioning constant money supply to Kiev regime. Does White House listens to that? No. On what Biden ran his presidency? He ran that if Trump will win, he will start Third World War. That was one of the propaganda elements that media was pushing, isn't it? And look at what happened, by the way. Biden came to power, Biden's administration. We'll understand that in reality some other peoples are running the show, and the US is engaged in even more conflicts than before. So that's why I think we have too many indicators to say that Western ruling class, they are manipulating with the societies, and they don't really care about people. I really believe in this, so you may disagree with me, and that's okay. Maybe I am wrong, but that's how I see the situation. Jack Lears is questioning what does Gudadze thinks of the Russian commentator Solovyov. Solovyov, he is in Russian segment of internet. He is a big name, by the way, in Russia. Many members of our community may not be familiar with this personality, media personality, but he is big in Russia. And this is, some, I guess, majority, or I wouldn't say majority because I don't have statistics once again, but he is very popular, let's say this way. His channel on YouTube has over 1 million subscribers. It might be biggest channel on YouTube, possibly. Not YouTube, but on Telegram, sorry. My personal opinion of him, I see him as a propagandist, by the way. I see him as a propagandist. He is he does propaganda. He is rarely questioning anything, really. And I don't really like this approach. I mean, you can support as much as you want government, especially in difficult times. But still questions should be asked, especially when you are in such a dominant position as a media personality when it comes to Russian segment of internet. And he is also on TV, by the way. He has his shows on Russia First. I don't really watch TV, but I know on YouTube, by the way. Now rarely, but before Russia One channel was blocked, quite often I was seeing on YouTube his some episodes from his program. And well, me personally, I don't know, man, what to say. I see him as a influential, effective, very effective propagandist. And this is his choice, by the way, to act this way, and it is what it is. I'm not a big fan of Solovyov, let me say this way. So, you know. But he is intelligent, by the way. He is very intelligent and very successful. I mean, you cannot become that successful if you are not intelligent. So that's my commentary, by the way. I'm not gonna say nothing bad or nothing extremely critical. I'm not big fan of him, but you know, he is very popular among in some parts of the public, and that's just factual, like it or not. But questions. Jack Lears is asking question: if Russia is Christian, then why does not he supports Israel? Muslims crush Christians' kingdoms whenever they get the chance. Well, that's not approach that I have, by the way. It's not about Christians, Muslims, Jews. It's absolutely not, by the way. In my personal take, it's about truth. It's about respect of humans, because first of all, that's what we are humans. That's what matters, because if you don't respect humans and human life, then what kind of in this case Christian you are then? I mean, that's my question. So Russia is not against Israel. Russia is not against Israel as a state of Israel, but Russian leaders were very direct when it comes to criticism of the actions of the Netanyahu's government. And I remind you, dear friends, that Putin and Netanyahu had quite good working relationships some years ago. I don't know about now, but yes, they used to have great relationships, and I mean, there is no anti-Israeli sentiment in Russia. Really don't. I mean, me personally, I have nothing against Israel. And why should I have anything against Israel? But I'm critical of Netanyahu's government. That's a whole different story, isn't it? Because I see as actions of the Netanyahu's government as a crime, and war crime and crime against humanity. That's how I see it. Because we have examples, isn't it? More than 2 years now, 2.5 years, Russian special military operation is taking place, and please check numbers of their Western sources. Don't take Russian sources. Check UN's numbers. Check Western numbers. How many civilians died in zone of special military operation as a result of extremely high intensity battles that we are seeing? It's more than 2.5 years, by the way, since the beginning of special military operation. And you might be surprised. Of course, death of even one civilian is a tragedy, of course. But unfortunately, when there is military operations, There is collateral damage also, but we should make difference between collateral damage and intentional killing of the civilians. In zone of special military operation, you clearly see collateral damage, which is unfortunately, rarely can be avoided. It's unfortunately, it's war. It's high intensity military operation. Some missile just may malfunction and strike not in the area that it was intended to strike. That's collateral damage. But when we see in Israel what Israel does, when the entire blocks, by the way, was leveled, and the explanation was that there might be some Hamas militants in that area. I mean, really? If Hamas militants went to, let's say, in any hospital in Tel Aviv, will Israeli Air Force level that hospital with hundreds of Israeli citizens in hospital and medics? I don't think so. Israeli side will try to conduct special military operation with special forces, and that's how things to be done, in my personal opinion. You should send in special forces and conduct targeting operation, precise operation. You cannot level entire block, by the way, and then say that there might be some Hamas militants. What you are talking about? Tens of thousands of people have been killed with this brutal force, and this is not collateral damage, by the way. And when we see this, once again, this is not about supporting or not supporting Israel and Israel's right to defend itself. It's about how you are acting. And Israel's armed forces clearly are acting in ways that me personally can never support or justify. Never. One I know this is a society worldwide is divided on this topic, but one should always keep in mind that one horrible action did not justify another horrible action. I mean, it's just not, and it's never, it's definitely not. And Russia, by the way, is for Russia, there is traditional religions, by the way. It's Christianity. Majority of us are Orthodox Christians. Although for Russia, it is traditional religion, not just Christianity, but also Islam and also Judaism, by the way. You might be surprised, but Judaism also, and Buddhism, by the way. Kalmykia, there is a region in Russia that majority of the residents are Buddhists. So there is almost all major religions in this world that are traditional for Russia, and Russia was built this way, historically speaking. So yes, vast majority of us are Orthodox Christians, but many our fellow citizens have different religions, and we respect that. That's how it is, and that's why we are strong, by the way, that we respect each other's culture and history, So that's my answer. It's not about religion, it's about how you are acting when it comes to this situation in Israel, this tragic, horrible situation in Middle East between Israel and Palestine. Nadesh Kumar is asking, don't you think the numbers are high because of high population density? We must take this into consideration as well. Of course, high density is important, but once again, special military operations should be taken. If someone goes to, let's say, if some terrorists take plane and hostages, you're not gonna bomb plane, isn't it? On the ground. After 9/11, things change, and in some cases, planes may be shut down. maybe this is a wrong example, but if plane is on the ground, let's say, and not taking off, you're not gonna destroy plane, isn't it? You're gonna conduct special operation and neutralize terrorists and liberate hostages. If terrorists enter the bank and take hostages, are you gonna level entire bank, entire building? You're not gonna do this, isn't it? You're gonna conduct special operation. That's why special forces exist, for God's sake, to conduct these special operations. So, as I said, by the way, I mean, there is a collateral damage, and we have examples when we clearly are dealing with very unfortunate, tragic, but collateral damage, and there are other instances when it's not collateral damage, it's intentional killing of their civilians, when one side just don't cares about lives of people that they are targeting. That's what it is. It has no justification, never, you know. Questions. So, by the way, it's 1.5 hours, dear friends. We had a quite good chat, isn't it? I did not even went through postings on my Telegram, by the way. It's already 1.5 hours, and I mean, we had a good conversation, isn't it? Sorry, dear friends, if I miss your questions. Let me check once again. So I checked here, and let me check here also. And so if I may, dear friends, I will end this update then, because it's already 1.5 hours, and many of you are, I guess, quite tired. There's too much of me. So dear friends, I did not manage to go through all the postings that I have, and I'm gonna share with you this information, by the way, that Georgia experiencing pressure from the West on the issue of the opening a second front against Russia, invited the so Kaladze, by the way, mayor of Tbilisi, stated that Georgia is experiencing pressure from the West to open this second front, and he basically called Baltic states, including from Baltic states, and we all remember that foreign ministers of Baltic states were in Georgia recently, and they were actively participating in this rallies against the government, isn't it? And Kaladze said that, I mean, he called basically those Baltic states that if they want that much to open second front against Russia, they can do it on their own. They can open second front in Baltics if they want to, and this is, I mean, definitely right approach to this topic. If they want that much to do some provocations against Russia, just do it on your territory. Don't provoke this destabilization in Georgia and regime change to then sacrifice Georgia. So it's good to see that Georgian leadership is clearly understands the situation, but what is intent of the Western ruling class really is. So yes, dear friends, I will end. Also, I mean, this is also interesting that Prime Minister of Armenia, Pashinyan, stated that two CSTO member states were actually supporting Azerbaijan and did not, although formally they were declaring that they are supporting Armenia, but in reality they were supporting Azerbaijan, according to Pashinyan, although he did not mention these countries. And I would not be surprised, dear friends, if sometime in the next several days we will learn that he was talking about Russia and Belarus. I will not be surprised at all, you know. So, you know, unfortunately, relationships between Armenia and Russia and the leadership of Pashinyan in Armenia are only deteriorating. I mean, as as time goes by. And well, dear friends, I will end the live stream on this, if I may. It's already really half an hour, 1.5 hours, and I will say thank to all of you for your attention, for your questions, for your comments. We really have had a good conversation, isn't it? I try to answer on as many questions as I see in best of my abilities. And once again, sorry, dear friends, if I did not see your question. So in the future, I mean, if in case you want 100% your question to be discussed during the live stream, you can send question through Boosty, donation alert. This platform, donation alert, works only during the live streams. So through Boosty, through donation alert during the live stream, PayPal, or through Patreon if you are a subscriber to my Patreon page. So that's been said, if I may, I will end this live stream. Thank you all for participating, for your attention. Have a great day, great morning, evening, afternoon. Thank you all, and bye for now. See you tomorrow.